sharing this with you, some strategies in order to relieve the pressure valve when you're in the thick of it. Because that's the problem, right? Is like we're in the middle of it, and it's really easy to see for other people how they can relieve the pressure valve. A little bit harder when you are stuck in the heavy steam. Here are the strategies I'm going to share. I'm going to give them to you right up front. We're going to look at your capacity equation and share a really high level so you can see, okay, this is what's actually happening. We're going to zoom in to get super specific and objective about what is happening and where those repeating moments of angst are. And then we are going to reframe your expectations. I find that having unrealistic expectations or expectations that are misaligned or no longer serving you or placed on somebody else's, I think can actually cause a lot of the stress and a lot of the cloudiness and the steam and the pressure that we're adding to our own lives that we don't need to be. And the last thing we're going to do is we are going to stack some joy and some oomph and some juju and a little bit of who you are back into the mundaneness of your life. Let's focus in on your capacity equation. Now, when I talk about capacity, think of it like it's just such a simple way to say your resources that you have available to you. And it's not just your energy. It's not just your physical, it's your mental, it's your emotional, it's your habits, it's the number of tasks and obstacles and adversities and people, all of it that gets thrown into this capacity cylinder, okay? So this is what you have every day. Now, as a high achiever, the beauty is that you've probably spent years building a bigger and bigger and bigger capacity cylinder. You can handle a lot. The challenge is you can only handle a lot and be at the absolute maximum of your cylinder for so long before it starts to get hard to breathe. And when you're like, I just can't do this anymore. And then it becomes unsustainable. So there are only 3 options to fix an overloaded capacity cylinder. All right. 2 of these you're going to want to roll your eyes, but hold that because I will bring an asterisk to them. And the third one is where I think the most power is. Okay. So the only 3 ways you can fix a capacity cylinder is to delete something that's in it, delegate something that's crowding it, or the most powerful is to do what you do with more ease. We need to remove the angst that's causing the destructive stress. That's where the power is. That's how we really, truly release the pressure valve. And so when you think about everything that's coming at you right now, and even if you could just grab a quick piece of paper and start mapping in and imagine your cylinder, here you are, and think about everything that's flowing in there right now. And with the deleting and the doing less, I know this is why I said I thought you were going to roll your eyes on this, because everybody says just learn to say no. Just set boundaries. Don't do so much. But when you really think about it, a lot of the stuff that you have to do or that's causing you the pressure or that you're dealing with are the very things that nobody else can do. It's not like there'll be something in that capacity cylinder. There'll be something that you can delete out of there. But a lot of it is on your shoulders and there's nobody else's shoulders to put it on. So doing less or saying no and deleting things, to me, it's just such fickle advice, such cliched advice. But here's my challenge to you. If there is this capacity cylinder that now looks a mess, and these are all the things you're dealing with, okay? All the tasks, all the obstacles, all the thinking, everything. I want you to think of one thing that is in there right now that does not need to be in there. And as soon as we are done here, I want you to delete it. I'm just going to challenge you to go ahead and delete it. Now, it'll just pull one little piece of that puzzle out of your capacity cylinder. Okay? But we can't get rid of all of it. Like, you can't just get rid of life, right? And think that's going to fix it. That's actually going to cause more misery. So that's the do less. The second approach is we can delegate more. Now, here's the problem with this. Most of the leaders who I end up talking with, I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, because my team, who probably should be doing it, is so stressed out and so overloaded that they don't have the capacity to do it. Okay, that's fair. Except, I mean, this is part of the coaching conversation, right? If we were working together one-on-one, like, how do you enable them to not have so much stress and to better deal with their things and all of that? But, there might be something you could delegate. And often we don't delegate effectively because we're attached to how something is done, or we are just having an expectation that we must do it. And I'll give you an example of, I shared, helping my mom, and super excited to be able to do that and in a position to have her with me so that we can nurse her through this knee replacement. And I was like, I have to take her to all her physio appointments. And I thought, okay, 30-minute appointments, no big deal. But then when I actually added up the math of how long that was going to take out of my week, it's like, that's significant. So I started to think, okay, what are the other options? Like, do I have to do that? Right? And so I ended up getting a neighbor who's going to take care of it, and it's all sorted out. So it's like relieved the capacity just that little bit. So sometimes doing less and deleting and delegating is a good thing, but often you can only get so far with those ideas. Okay? So instead, we have to do what you do more easily and with less angst. And that's how we can right size this capacity equation. So if you have a task, let's say you have to give a report. Doing the report is not what causes the destructive stress. It's the worrying about the report. It's the trying to figure it out. It's the thinking, oh, this is a waste of time. It's the procrastinating or the interrupting yourself and allowing distractions in. That's what sucks out the capacity. Okay, so we want to be sure that when you have to do something, you're doing it with as little angst as humanly possible. And these 3 reframing techniques that we're going to move into can help you bring more ease to the things that you actually have to do. So, number 1, reframing is about expectations. And the expectations, I find, are at the root of the majority of problems that we have in our interpersonal connections. Well, why wouldn't they just step up and do that? Why wouldn't they, they don't do it the way I would do it, etc., right? But I think the more important expectation is, and see if any of these resonate with you, things will slow down. When they slow down, then I'm going to be less stressed and the pressure will be off. When I get through this project, then I'm going to be less stressed and the pressure will ease. When we finally hire somebody new, right? When the workload starts to slow down, here's the problem. Your workload is never going to slow down. Yes, you'll get through this project, but then there's going to be another project. Yes, you're going to hire somebody new, but then the work is going to expand and you're going to have to use up a lot of your capacity and your bandwidth to actually train them and get them up to speed. So that expectation that something is going to change will leave you in a situation where you're constantly feeling discouraged and never truly getting further. Like you're chasing this carrot that you're never going to be able to catch. And so with this, like from an implementation perspective, when you think about all those things going into your capacity cylinder, what expectations do you have around them? And what expectations are not serving you? What are the ones that served you last year but don't serve you this year? Where is it showing up and adding an angst? Where's that little frustration that goes, oh, why didn't they do that? Why can't they do that better? Identify what that is and let's play with it. Because if you are consistently expecting things or people or situations to be different than they are, you will never truly find a sense of peace in your life. I know this to be true. And so recognize what those expectations are and pick one. Go, I expect that my staff is going to know how to problem solve and stop bringing me all their problems. Okay, just worked through this with one of my coaching clients. And I'm like, have you taught them how to problem solve? Do they have the skills to actually get to the solution? And if they got to the solution, would you be happy with the solution that they actually created? Probably not. So we can't just magically expect that people are going to fix themselves and actually do the thing. So that's an example of an expectation that is unrealistic, that is causing angst unnecessarily. And if we want to release that pressure from inside the bubble of where we are, of everything coming at us, we have to bring these expectations to the forefront, look at them with compassionate curiosity and not harsh judgment, and go, what else is possible? How could I be more objective about this situation? Okay. Expectations. It's all about planning for today's reality, not tomorrow's fantasy. Things may get better or they may get worse, but you're going to be okay and can get through it no matter what. That's the key. So now we got to do another reframing. And I know I'm powering through this because I want to get through all of this in 25 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A, and I have no idea if I'm still live and if people are watching, and I'm hoping they are. I'm not even looking at the screen. But if you're there, I hope something is resonating. I've seen how powerful these things are. Like when people go, oh, I'm expecting them to do that, aren't I? Maybe I should stop expecting them to do that. Because they've never done it before and they're probably not going to do it in the future. The next reframing technique is we are going to zoom in to get really specific. And here's why. If you are in this pressure cooker, and you've got all of this stuff, all the tasks and the obstacles and the irritations and the responsibilities and the juggling and the, all of it is all thrown in that big pressure cooker. And the lid is on. And you're caught in the middle. It's really hard to see through the steam. And so here's my challenge to you. Another one. I'm going to ask you to grab a Post-it note, a big one if you can. If not, a piece of paper. I love my shiny cardboard. Okay. And for the next 24 hours, or like in the next 2 working days, let's say, when you're at your desk, whenever you're doing something, I just want you to start writing things down. What irks you? Okay. Because the more stressed out you are, chances are the more things are going to irritate you. Okay. And so it's just like the notification bell. I did this yesterday. I was like, what keeps driving me nuts? Like, no, not nuts, that's the wrong way words. But it's like so irritating. Well, my Ring doorbell, there's a lot of people coming to and from right now, is so loud. If I have my AirPods on, I couldn't stand it anymore. And so I was just like, that was an irritation that I wrote down. I'm like, fix the Ring notifications. It's so simple. But when you're in the pressure cooker, you can't release the valve if all these little things start piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up. And so the idea of zooming in and getting so specific to write down what are the little irritations. Well, I've got this notification. My email inbox is overloaded. I'm getting emails from people who I don't like reading. Of course, those aren't my emails. Of course, you love reading my emails. If you're not on my email list, please do sign up, lift up every weekly-ish. But like, what is actually happening? Where is your time going? And one of my clients do this. I said, look, for the next week, just sort of keep track of where's your time going, what's causing a problem. And because he couldn't understand, like, why am I at 10 o'clock at night trying to get my work done? For a week, just track your time. Humor me. They called me in 48 hours. He's like, oh, I know where my time is going. I know why I'm having to work at 10 o'clock at night, because my daytimes are full of interruptions, full of them. And distractions. And he said, most of the distractions are my own fault. So we were able to fix it. But if you don't zoom in to a level where you can actually look in black and white and see on a piece of paper, what is stealing your capacity? What is irking you? There's no hope to fix it. We need to have the specificity of what's happening, because you know how to fix most of what you're going through, right? I'm really great problem solver for my clients, but if I gave them enough time, they'd figure it out. Where they get stuck is they're swirling in all of it. And that's what causes the problem. Okay? So when we're specific, then we look for one simple repeating moment of angst. An irritation that is stuck on repeat. You're always losing your car keys, the Ring doorbell. I had a drawer that would come out, and it was just like my passport drawer, and where a lot of like my travel stuff is, and it had one of those screws that was out loose. And so every time I opened it, it was just like, the drawer just had a little this. And so what did I do? I was like, 3 minutes. That's a repeating moment of angst that is stealing a little bit of precious capacity out of my capacity cylinder. And so I'm going to take 3 minutes to fix it. And I did. And now when I've opened up said drawer, I feel lovely. I don't have that pressure, that angst. Because when the big stuff is coming at you, you have no choice but to alleviate the pressure by fixing the little stuff. And it seems inconsequential, but add it up. A button here, a tech issue here, a system failure there, a loud notification here, not getting sleep over here. Like, you put all that together, and that's what creates the pressure cooker. And then it's harder to do the things like care for our elders, care for our children and our pets and our loved ones, and do our work and mentor our teams and all of those other things that need to be done. Okay? The last reframing. And I know I'm going through this fast, but I was like, I'm going to do 35-minute live sessions instead of 1 hour. So that's the consequence. But anyway, it's all good. Here's the thing that I think happens the most and causes the most risk for your quality of life when it comes to like just overall being under constant pressure. And it's that you're too busy and too stuck swirling in the steam to remember who you are. And to feel the joy and to feel the moment and to be like, this is who I am, away from the pressure. And the problem is that if you're in a real pressure cooker, you can't just take a break and remember who you are. However, you can stack moments of joy, activities that remind you of you and bring a sense of present-mindedness and enthusiasm and excitement into the mundane. For example, have a dance party when you are cooking dinner. And right? Like I did it the other night. It was so much fun because I love to dance. It's part of who I am. But when I get caught up in everything else, you think I'm like bopping around everywhere? No, I'm not. Maybe I am. Could be. But point is, it's like that brings me joy. When you're walking your pets, like if you have a dog, instead of just like, come on, hurry up, going, like actually look up from the phone and add some bliss and joy and a little bit of reflection into Mother Nature purposefully. Maybe you don't like laundry. I remember I was working with a lawyer, and she's one of my favorite clients, and she's like, all of that mundane stuff. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, right? Like laundry always has to get done. Cleaning up the dishes always has to get done. For me, it's like emptying the dishwasher. And so if you can add something onto it, like your favorite podcast, or your that's where you listen to some, book that is just a novel and is nothing to think, or you do a cartwheel down your hall, right? Like, remember when you were a kid? It's that kind of stacking on top of the mundane that can release a little bit of the pressure. And remember, when we've got all this stuff piled into our pressure cooker, if it's there, we can't get rid of it all, because that's your life and that's your responsibility and that's the circumstance you're in. And you can't delegate it all because there's nobody else to pick up the slack of what needs to get done. The only real true option you have that can have any lasting impact on your overall quality of life is to take the things that are inside the capacity cylinder and do them with less angst and therefore with more ease. And to recap, we're going to implement that by first adjusting, acknowledging everything that's in there and figuring out one thing that we actually can delete. Okay? And maybe one thing that we can delegate or find a different way to approach. Then we're going to look at it and think, what are the expectations I have around some of these things? Like, am I expecting work to slow down for the last 3 quarters in a row? And you know what? It's not going to happen. You got to deal with today's reality, not tomorrow's fantasy. And then I'm going to challenge you to take a Post-it note or a piece of paper and track down everything that sort of causes you that irksomeness. What's the cue in your body that says, ooh, I don't like that? And we're going to pick one that is repeating, and we're just going to take 3 minutes to fix it, or 3 minutes to figure out a strategy where we can actually implement a solution. Or maybe it's going to take longer, or maybe you don't even know how to solve it, and then you're going to call me to start coaching with me, and I can help you figure all of that out. But getting really specific, tracking the time, tracking the angst points, and then finding solutions for each one. And then we are going to, so we've got our realistic expectations. We're going to zoom in. That's the zooming in. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to find something that's very mundane in our life that we got to do just because we've got to do it. And we're going to add something that brings us joy on top of it. A call with a friend, a cartwheel down the hallway, a podcast, like I said, any of those things, a little bit of moment in nature without any technology. And little by little, we can start to release the pressure from inside the pressure cooker. And that is my hope for you. Come and see me over at AllisonGraham.com if you want to talk about how to implement these strategies in your own life.